When did you know, Laura, that you had the gift of communicating with souls who had passed on to the other side? How did that first show up for you?
Well, I think I first understood there was something different about me in the way that I was perceiving the world around me from a very young age. I used to see people in color. I used to feel what other people were feeling. But when I was very young, I thought that's just how the world works. And then when I was 11 years old, I had this sudden knowing while I was in the swimming pool one August day that I needed to go see my grandfather that day. It was a sense of panic. And my mom waited for me to get out. I went to visit him, and I had the most magical day with him. It was just the two of us. We laughed, we talked. And when it was time to say goodbye, I just hugged him. I told him how much I loved him. And that was the last time I ever saw him alive. He got diagnosed with leukemia 2 days later. And back then, if you weren't 16 years or older, you couldn't go to the hospital. So none of my siblings or I got to go see him, and he crossed within 2 weeks. And shortly after that, I had a dream where I connected with his spirit, and he showed me where he was on the other side, and that was our true home. And I thought, that's really beautiful. But I'll tell you, it wasn't until I was 23.
Okay. So this happened at 11 that you had the dream about your grandfather, and you connected to him from the other side.
Yes.
Okay. And then you were 23.
So when I was 23, I had come into understanding that I had these different abilities, and I had decided I was going to try to use them to help some people. But I didn't really have an awareness of being a medium. A medium means you can connect with the consciousness of somebody who's no longer in their physical body. I just thought I was psychic because I would know things about people, and I could feel their energy, and I could see things about their past, their present, and future. And I remember doing this one reading for a young man named Paul. He was in his late 20s. And in the reading, I had this very different experience that happened. And then I was talking about his path and his life, and all of a sudden I felt this energy come from behind me on the right and started giving me all this information about Paul's girlfriend, Amy. All sorts of things, like her shoe size, the fact that she had just bought a new purse, and saying all this love and beautiful messages for her. And I actually stopped myself and I apologized. And I said, I'm so sorry. I don't understand what's really going on here. I'm getting all this information from someone named Chris, and it's really focusing on Amy. Our whole reading's focusing now on Amy. And he stopped me and he said, it's okay. Chris and Amy used to be boyfriend and girlfriend. Chris died in a car accident. That Amy was in the car and survived. That's her ex-boyfriend. And he's like, and these messages are beautiful.
Wow.
And it
Did
terrified
you think
me.
woo-woo? Because I'm going to tell you, this sounds woo-woo.
Let me tell you, I thought woo-woo so much that I stopped doing this.
Okay.
I shut down. I said, I can't handle that responsibility. And I also was so confused.
I mean, I think it would be scary, too.
It was.
Yeah.
It was scary. I was fearful of my own abilities. I was fearful about always having that responsibility of delivering the messages right. And I was fearful about people thinking I was crazy, including myself.
Yeah.
It was just so out there for me that it took me a number of years to really own that truth and also see it as beautiful and comforting.
Yeah. I can see why that would happen. I mean, I have discussed, and a lot of people are going to say we're very woo-woo for even having this conversation.
Yeah.
But I've been talking about it for so long. And I remember specifically doing a show on the spiritual life of children and talking to parents who had experienced this in young children, because I have come to realize that young children come in when you're young, you come in with it.
That's exactly
when you're born,
right.
you come in with it. I say you come in trailing the breath of the angels.
Yes.
I don't know where I got that from. It just occurred to me. And I've experienced so many stories where children are trying to tell their parents, but about 5 or 6, they no longer have it. I think because of the density of the world or something. Have you discovered that also?
That is an absolute truth. We all come here to Earth School.
Yeah.
To learn a collective lesson in love. And really our only rules are to give love and receive love. It's so simple. But the way that we arrive here is through reading unseen energy all around us.
Yeah.
So when we're young, we're reading that love energy. We're reading that connection.
That's what babies are doing.
That's how we operate.
Yeah.
And that's why children, too, can sometimes recognize people from their family that they never met in the here and now as spirits that they're familiar with. It's very beautiful. But
so that's why when I meet young babies, I go,
yeah,
tell me what you know.
Yes. And
Tell
you can
me what you know.
feel that
Yeah.
magic around them,
Yeah.
right? So I work actually a lot with scientists because I know that this is a truth for me. And I know that I've been really wanting to explore it to understand, how does it work in me? How come I can access it? Because it's truly a gift that we all have. I know this. And so what I've come to understand is that,
I mean, we may all have it, but I don't think everybody can access
oh, we
it.
can re-access it. You
Well,
just
I
have
know
to
that's what you're
understand it
saying
a
in
little bit.
guided, but I'm like, a
Yeah.
lot of people are so shut down
Yeah.
to actual life. I feel like a lot of people who are just sort of moving through their lives and not really in touch with the reality and presence of their own lives. So I don't know how you could touch the other side if you're not even in touch with your own life, you know?
Yeah, that's such a careful point. And I think what happens, what you were describing, when children start formal schooling, usually kindergarten, first grade, second grade,
Yeah.
they turn off that ability to connect with unseen energy, to feel each other's energy. Why is that? Well, what ends up happening to us is we get very much trained to use only the frontal lobes of our brain. That part of our brain's in charge of analytical thinking, critical thinking, math skills, language, all the day-to-day stuff we need. So from age 5 to 7, daily, we're being retrained to not perceive energy, but to get very focused on that frontal lobe. Do you know that most of us have 98% of our brainwave activities taking place just in our frontal lobe during waking hours? Now, what's different about me that scientists have looked at and that I find interesting for everybody listening is that when I am in normal talking mode, my brain looks pretty similar. They've done EEGs of my brain. And I'm using mostly my frontal lobe. But the moment I go into psychic mode or mediumship, it looks like I go into a coma because the brainwaves silence and different parts of my brain light up.
Wow.
And so what they've told me is we all have a switch in our brains that we can switch off this frontal logical, what meditation teacher called the monkey mind, that
Yeah, monkey
chatters,
mind,
right?
yeah, mhm.
And re-access that spiritual part of ourself. And I really do feel like that's part of my mission here on earth, is to just reintroduce people to their spiritual self, to re-access that, because what your frontal lobe does is it tells you, I'm separate from you. We're having separate experiences. I'm my own person. When in truth, we all belong to each other. We're all having this collective experience in life.
And that's why you wrote Guided, The Secret Path to an Illuminated Life.
Yes.
Because you believe that all of us have the possibility of having an illuminated life if we pay attention to the guides.
The guidance, if we open up our minds and hearts to that guidance and that connection with our teams of light on the other side, it can transform not only our lives, but the lives of those around us.